So, it's been a moment since we haven't seen a substantial update for No Man's Sky. Well, 2023 kicks things off with the FRACTAL update, or patch 4.1, available right now, I believe, on all platforms, including the UTOPIA expedition, which also starts today. Looking really awesome, a lot of Star Wars inspired items, if I might say so. So let's dive right in with the details. Of course, if you head over in-game right now, you're going to notice that expedition number 9 called UTOPIA is already available. I even got a chance to play a bit through its first chapter, and I will say this, I am highly impressed by the rewards you get during it, specifically 2 of them, including the UTOPIA speeder starship. I did say that there's some Star Wars inspired things going on right here. Well, this ship just looks incredible, definitely Star Wars-ish. So to say, it comes in with some nice engines in the back, with some really cool blasters in the front. Definitely one of the more unique, well, I guess, fighter ships that we've seen up until this point. And I will say, Hello Games does not disappoint with the starship design. This is not the only one that looks absolutely incredible. We also have the Expedition Visor. Again, definitely reminds me of the Inquisitor mask from Star Wars, so I will just call it like that from this point on. And I believe you get it during Chapter 3 of the expedition, so it doesn't take too long for that to happen. With that out of the way, you might have noticed that the trailer talks a lot about VR and overhauls to the VR. Well, that is true, but the base game also gets a number of cool new additions, one of which is the Wondrous Discoveries. So this introduces a bunch of new categories in the catalog and guide section for the treasures you've discovered, collectible glitches, planet records, fauna, flora, and minerals. So basically everything noteworthy, anything that's interesting, like the size of planets, the temperatures, how big or small the creatures were, or how interesting they looked, will be cataloged here, and the best of the best will be shown. This actually might be a lot more important than it seems at a first glance, because it also shows your most perfect planet found up until this point. Like in my case, it's one that I found 3 years ago, and it's a Paradise 99.5%, which I did not even know until this was shown up. Who knows, maybe you got a better one, so totally let me know down below in the comments. In the meantime, we have other changes coming. For example, the fleet size has been increased once more from 9 all the way to 12, so that's going to be the maximum number of ships that you can hold at any given point, which comes in handy with the new ship that we just got with the new update. We also got quite a number of graphical updates, some of which were a bit intensive at first. For example, ambient smoke and fog now surround colossal archives and swirl through abandoned planetary structures. The smoking and sparking of damaged machinery and crashed freighters has been updated with atmospheric new visual effects. Meanwhile, for alien structures, a deeper sense of mystery surrounds ancient portals, plaques, and monoliths, with the addition of ambient mist and dramatic new visual effects upon activation. Especially if you check a portal and activate it, you will notice that the old bluish color has been replaced with a greenish tint, which also affects the icons of the glyphs when you activate them. Plus, the pillars also come in with new, like, really cool green fire-ish effects, and also the portal itself looks much more awesome. Also, a lot more in tune with how it was in the pre-release footage from before 2016, if you remember the old trailers. Furthermore, dynamic range also got a nice bump in quality. Color grading for high dynamic range displays have been completely reworked, bringing the hues and tones of the universe closer to the look of a standard dynamic range display, while still enhanced by the brilliant lights and intense shadows of HDR. And you can see that there is a massive difference being made in this example shot right here on the space anomaly, which just looks awesome. Outside of that, you no longer have to go in-game to access any of the graphical settings or other options. You can just do that from the starting screen, since now this is going to be accessible right here from the left side. And speaking of graphical settings, I guess PS5's users will rejoice, because yeah, dynamic resolution scaling is now also added, and this should make the transitioning between deep space exploration and low altitude flight on planets to now be completely seamless and hitch-free, which previously would cause a slight, well, stutter/frame drop right as you were to pass the atmosphere. Now, in terms of VR, this is actually going to come in with a massive overhaul to how you experience this, since the game technically is also relaunched for the PSVR 2 hardware, which also supports up to 4K resolution with the new hardware, and also a bunch of other gameplay and quality of life improvements that are also noticed. For example, visual quality has gone up quite significantly with higher quality texture resolutions, and also support for AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.0, which should help you a ton with those frame rates. Gameplay-wise, the experience has also been improved. For example, personal force field will now be attached to your non-dominant hand and it will move with it, as you can see from the shot right here. Also, mission locations and power hotspots are more intuitive to pinpoint with the revamped target sweep and hotspot surveying controls for the analysis visor. For base building in virtual reality, which is now more intuitive, placement options now appear wherever you look and you can select a position by pointing to it. Base parts can also be recolored in VR to enhance your base aesthetics with a full range of colors and materials. I'm not sure if this was previously available. Another big problem with VR that was fixed was VR Galaxy navigation, so selecting orb destinations in the VR Galaxy map has also been improved, and it's now even possible to travel through the center of the galaxy in this mode. Now, on top of this, there's also a few accessibility options that seem pretty awesome. I will just focus on the more important ones, starting with the fact that Analysis Visor now has an option to automatically scan fauna, flora, and minerals, so you no longer have to hold the button pushed down in order to do that. I guess reverting on that few-year-old change that they did a couple of years back with one of the bigger updates. Also, it's finally possible to change from a right-handed to a left-handed play mode. In case you want to play like that, you can just access this right from the general settings menu, and it basically switches the hand in which your character will hold the multi-tool, as well as where they will be positioned with the over-the-shoulder camera. I guess it comes in really nicely if you want to play left-handed and couldn't up until this point. Also, there's an option to stop the auto rotation for the third-person camera, so now you have full manual control over how you look at your character, which also comes in quite handy. But there's plenty more quality of life changes in there, including for quickly recharging some of the refiners and so on. Now, in terms of the new expedition called Utopia, the once affluent system of Bakken has fallen into decay. Trade routes are halted, the space station is abandoned and rotting, intelligent life forms departed, and anomalous solar activity prevents the crafting of items beyond the shelter of a planetary base, which means you actually have to build a player base and stay inside of it to be able to craft items. Otherwise, if you go outside of its limits, you're not going to be able to do that, which comes in with some interesting gameplay opportunities but also restrictions. Thankfully, for the good of all, the generous Utopia Foundation is coordinating a grand reconstruction project. Join the communal habitation team, settler, and help make Bakken beautiful and productive once more. And of course, I definitely suggest doing so. This seems to be like an easy enough expedition, and the rewards are definitely worth it. Now, by far the most interesting technical achievement comes for the Nintendo Switch, which actually does bring some cool new additions it did not have before. One of which is the fact that NEXUS missions are finally available for this platform. So the NEXUS interface offers an ever-updating selection of missions of specific locations, ranging from discovery, combat, base building, and much more. And of course, you also have the weekend ones that give you Quicksilver, which you can then funnel into exotic collectibles and so on. A cool thing to note is the fact that a Trace of Metal side mission also gets added on the Switch, which finally gives you access to the Sentinel drone companion and the Minotaur exocraft, which with this mission you can also turn into an automatic AI companion to help you in combat, but you can also mount it if you want to like go with that route. So yeah, tons of other changes in there, including motion controls for the Switch and other cool VR improvements. Totally check it out. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.